get your phone ready to go live and bring my iPad to me so I got my notes. And so it's like behind you go, Dave. Now, I'm going to put my little woman on the spot today. Today is her birthday. So, I will not tell you how old she is because I value my oxygen. And her my oxygen is important. And so, I was at work the other day. We live next to the business, of course, and her car's always parked up there, and I always have my set of her car keys in my pocket. And perpetually, when I'm bending over, I'm always setting her alarm off in the car, right? Because I've got like 15,000 things in this pocket of mine. And so I get out of surgery, I take my gloves off, and I pick up the phone, and there's a text from her that says, "If you value your life, you would take the keys out of your pocket." And yeah. And so anyways, we need to pray for her. I'm just kidding. Yeah, or me, something. And again, we want to welcome all our guests here today, and we may sing Missy happy birthday before the service is out, but I want to get into the Word. God's really impressing upon me. Here, David, do something with that. You throw it away like this. I have an OCD moment. God's really impressing upon me to get into the Word this morning. Thank you. There we go. If you have your Bibles, turn to John chapter 5. And stand for the reading of the Word of God when you have that, please. Or if Kyle can magically make it appear on the screen, as he sometimes does. Everybody needs a Kyle in their life. And Sheila, a couple other people. I'm not getting naming names because I have to go all the way down the list. But the Lord's blessed me and Missy with some really good workers at this church. And there's some people that have been with us since the get-go. That has been here through all of it from the time we started, and then there's been people added to that list, and we really, really appreciate it. And you know who you are when you're packing out garbage and cleaning this place and doing the books and doing the sound and praying for people and praying for others in the church and working. You know who you are. God knows. Amen. God bless you. Miss those that's not able to be here this morning. We're going to read quite a few verses this morning. We ready to go live? Fire it up. Okay, we've been reading, talking about the miracles of Jesus for several weeks. This is miracle number 8 out of something like 35. And this is about the invalid at the pool of Bethesda. Got a lot of verses to read this morning out of John 5, 1 through 18. And it won't take that long to read, actually. It's only accounted for in this gospel. We've been talking about those things, about where you find it at. It's only found in this gospel. But verse 1 reads like this. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool, which basically is translated, he went down now and then, and troubled the water. And whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. In other words, first went to the water, got healed. And a certain man was there, which had had an infirmity for 38 years. Let that set in. I'm now only 2 years older than 38. That's a long time. Just saying, right? He'd been sick for almost 4 decades. When Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? Isn't that a funny question? How many times did he heal people, or have we read about it so far, and we'll read more? He didn't ask them if they wanted to be made whole. He said, be healed, your sins be forgiven you. He didn't ask them, but this man he asked. He said, do you want to be healed? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. In other words, I'm trying to make my way over there and somebody beats me. He didn't answer Jesus' question exactly, did he? He didn't say, yeah, I do, or no, I don't. He gave an excuse why he wasn't already. And I'm not saying he shouldn't give an excuse, because it's a pretty legitimate excuse if you can't move, you know. But I'm just saying, he didn't answer the question. Jesus saith unto him, Arise, take up thy bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. In other words, he healed him on the Sabbath, which Sabbath to them was a Sabbath. But that's neither here nor there. And the Jews therefore said unto him that the Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, unto the dude that was healed. That was a Shantussy translation, if you didn't catch that. It is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. In other words, he ain't supposed to be doing that on Sunday. He answered them, and he answered them and said, He that made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up thy bed and walk. Then asked they him, What man is that which said unto thee, Take up thy bed and walk? And he that was healed wist not who it was. In other words, I don't know who it is. For Jesus conveyed himself away, a multitude being in that place. After he healed him, in other words, he just kind of got the crowd disappeared, and he didn't tell the guy who it was. Well, afterward, in other words, after that had happened with apparently still on the same day, afterward Jesus findeth him in the temple. In other words, the guy had went to the temple after Jesus has healed him, and Jesus found him in there, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole, sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus which had made him whole. In other words, through that conversation, the man found out who it was. No doubt he introduced him. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. But Jesus answered them, My Father worketh hitherunto, and I work. Therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but he said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Brother Mike, would you bless the messages for me?
Father, we would ask that you would just bless this house today, Lord. Bless all who are in your house today, Lord. We thank you for your grace and mercy, Lord. Bless Brother John as he speaks your word today, Lord. Just bless this house, Lord. Lord, we thank you and love you. We give you all praise and glory, Lord. In the mighty name we say amen.
Amen. You may be seated if you can. You all have to bear with me in my voice this morning. I've got a lot of notes there. I don't know I'm going to stick with them all. God's really pressing something on me, I guess. I want to clarify a couple of things. First of all, I feel like we need to make this clear first. It's in my notes later on. You can see those. But the Jews, the Pharisees, the rabbis, as they were called, they had taken the Sabbath day and they had took it to an extreme about how you could or could not work on the Sabbath day. Now, old-timers around here believe you weren't supposed to buy or sell and work in your gardens or whatever. That's pretty biblical, to be honest with you. But the Jews back at that time, you couldn't even boil water. That wasn't appropriate to even boil water on the Sabbath day, because that was considered work. And you had to fix your meals the day before, which was not inappropriate. But they had taken it to such an extreme that you couldn't pour cold water into hot water, but you could pour hot water into cold water. And I mean, they had really just taken it to this extreme. So when they seen anybody doing anything on a Sabbath day, they all just went all to pieces, right? Because it triggered them. That's going to be the word for the day. They got triggered. My little girl says, yeah, you use that, but she's giving me the stink eye over there right now. Because she says I use that word too much. Anyways, but they got triggered because they were just so religious. And isn't it funny that when they seen the man packing his bed, they said, dude, you ain't supposed to be carrying your bed around on the Sabbath day. It's work. And he said, well, man, the guy who healed me told me to. And they said, well, who in the world healed you and told you to pack your bed around? Now, notice, Brother Mike, they didn't get hung up on the fact that there was a miracle. They got hung up on the fact that somebody violated their doctrine. You get that? Let that settle in for a minute. They didn't care about what had happened to the man. They cared that somebody had broken a man-made rule. And we see a lot of religious organizations churches, denominations, whatever, and they take broken people and they don't care about how they're broken or how they're healed. They care about the fact that they violated their laws. Come on? Amen. And so I wanted to point that out because I don't want to have to come back to it later. But I want to start talking about this dude that had been laying there for 38 years. How many in this building, it's going to be a fun little test. Now remember, all liars shall have their part. How many people in this building is 38 or under? 38 or under, raise your hands up. Lift them high. Lift them high. Lift them high. There we go. All right. I want you to take note of this and put them down. I want you to take note of this. The dude had been laying there longer than you've been alive. Right? Daily, the man had been laying on one of those porches at Bethesda longer than you have been alive. And you know what he had been wanting all those 38 years? He had been looking for two things. Number one, handouts from those who would go by. He'd been begging alms because that's what the sick people done back then. They didn't have a welfare system, so they laid out on the street and they begged whoever would give them money, and they'd give them money, a lot like homeless people do in cities these days. And then the other thing, he wanted to get in that water when he was troubled. He actually wanted to be healed. No doubt on day one of year one, he was pretty excited, Sister Deanna, thinking that he could have some kind of deliverance. Right? At what point do you think he lost hope? Come on. No, he didn't. Some people would argue he did, some people would argue he didn't. But he stayed there. Boy, that's a good one. That's my preach right there. That's all right. We might have to hang on today. But at what point do you think when would you have lost hope? I'd probably give up like after 3 weeks. I'm just saying, you know. If I'd have lasted that, I would have lasted 38 days. But like, man, take me somewhere else to beg, you know. I ain't getting in that water. And as a side note, it said there was a multitude of people around that pool. And when the water was troubled, did anybody have compassion on him? No, they only had a worry about themselves. And so they would get themselves healed before they would have compassion on the men around them. And that shows a lot about the state of the people at that time. It shows a lot about, and really, are we in really any different state right now in America in our own lives? We worry about ourselves and our problems, but we don't worry about our fellow man. Can I get an amen? Amen. But back to this dude. He's laying there for 38 years. He's begging for help. Nobody will put him in the water. Maybe he's lost hope. Maybe he's not. But it sure looked hopeless. Yep. Amen? Amen. You know what happens after 38 years of not moving your limbs? Of not being able to move? They just shrivel up, man. Right? Y'all seen people who's not able to move? People who are paralyzed, and this man was apparently paralyzed. They, bless their hearts, their muscles just shrivel up. Now, if I don't use my muscles, Scott, then they get small. But now if you kill the nerve to your muscle, then that whole arm just shrivels, the leg just shrivels. This guy's laying there for 38 years. He ain't got nothing. He's probably not even able at this point in time, Sister Sheila, to get himself there if he really had to. He's just laying there, begging for alms, hoping maybe somebody will come by. So here comes Jesus. Now, what's interesting is we read so many times about Jesus healing multitudes of people. Right, Sister Gina? I mean, he said they'd line them up at the door, man, and he said he'd heal all of them. Cast devils out of all of them, he'd heal all of them. Whatever they were sick and infirm with, Brother David, he'd heal them. But that's not what he done on today. Right? Those people came seeking Jesus. Jesus walks up on this bunch of invalids or sick people, whatever you want to call them. Invalid is kind of the old word that we would use. And he walked up on those people. And how many people there could he have healed? All of them. But he chose one man. One man. It didn't say he talked to the rest of them. It didn't say he had anything to do with the rest of them. It just said that when he found him, he went to him. Yep. Had he been there the longest? It didn't say. Was he the worst off? It didn't say. It just said he went to him. Yep. Was that man looking for Jesus? No. Was he almost hopeless? Maybe. Was he hoping beyond hope? Maybe. But he wasn't looking for Jesus. And what happens? Jesus shows up. And he asked him a very powerful question. Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be made whole? I'm going to let that just hang out for just a minute. And I didn't see the message going this way today when I was getting my notes together yesterday evening. But God began to lay on my heart this morning as these songs began to play that He had given me last night. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, Lord. But I want that question there, hang there. Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be made whole? Just let that sit there a minute. Because I'm going to tell you something, Sister Tony. If you don't want out of it, by crackies, He ain't going to get you out of it. Can I get an amen? If you don't want delivered, you don't have to worry about it. You ain't going to get it. Come on. If you like bondage, by crackies, you can stay in bondage. What's by crackies even mean? What is that? But anyways, it's an old word. But do you want to be healed? And did you notice immediately when Jesus asked him that question, He didn't say, yes, bud, or no. He just gave an excuse. He didn't answer either way, Sister Rhonda. Jesus said, you want to be made whole? And he said, I ain't had nobody do nothing for me. I can't get over there. Everybody else is getting a healing, but I ain't getting nothing. I can't get myself over there, but when I'm halfway there, some other guy with one leg hops in there and I ain't got two, and I just can't beat the situation. If I ask you right now, when I say, do you want out of your situation, what would you say to me? Would you say yeah? Would you say no? Or would you start saying, well, I can't get out of it because. I can't get out of it because I'm bound in addiction. I can't get out of it because I'm bound in a marriage. I can't get out of it because I'm bound in generational curses. I can't get out of it because I'm bound with my genetics and I have to die with diabetes. I can't get out of it because I have heart disease. Come on, you with me today? I can't get out of it because I can't find a good job. I can't get out of it for all these reasons. So you don't even bother to give Jesus a chance. You just say, it's impossible. Amen? It is an irrelevant question because you don't think that there's an answer. You see, when you live in that status where you don't think there's an answer to your problems, you're actually living in a world without hope. But I've got news for you. There is always hope. Amen. Come on, there's always hope. You said my marriage can't be fixed. Yes, it can. Hallelujah, my kids can't be healed. Yes, they can. Addiction can't be broken. Yes, it can. My body can't be healed. Yes, it can. My depression can't be taken away. Yes, it can. Glory to God, my bills can't be paid. Yes, it can. Listen, there is hope inside of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
And listen, you may not even be looking for it.
Right. Bless God.
It's about to get a little ugly in here for just a moment. Can it get just a little ugly? There's some people out there in the world, Brother Mike, that thinks that Jesus don't talk to nobody except those that are seeking His face. I'm going to tell you something. That man was laying on that pool for 38 years and he was not seeking the face of Jesus.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh,
Bless
Jesus
God.
walks right up.
Yep.
He don't even know who Jesus is. He asked him if he wants a miracle. The man didn't even tell him that he wanted a miracle. He didn't ask him for nothing. But Jesus gave him exactly what he needed. Let me tell you, if you don't think God won't visit you in your circumstances, whether you're asking for it or not, my God can show up in your life to make the opportunity for Him to talk to you later.
Amen.
You say, hey, what? Now, listen. He'll make a way. Notice what happened with this dude. The Lord healed him, and then later He found him in the temple.
Yep.
Come on. Now, if He hadn't healed him and intervened in his life there, He couldn't have found him in the temple later. Right? You see, sometimes He intervenes on your life. That way He can talk to you later.
Yep.
Glory to God. I'm not telling you not to ask for help because you know to ask for help. And if you know to ask for help, you need to ask for help. Amen. But I'm talking about some of the people that we don't like to give credit where credit is due. Amen. Because God will intervene where it's convenient for God to intervene to make His opportunity with these people. Come on. Brother Dingus Blackburn was not seeking to be delivered from alcoholism, but the Lord delivered him, and several years later He saved his soul. Amen. Come on, you see what I'm saying? Sometimes God intervenes. We're not even looking for Him to intervene, Brother Mike. Sometimes He intervenes, we don't even realize He's been there. Come on, we ain't going to talk about that today, though. Amen? But there's so many of us in this room today that is bound up, that is in bondage. And we don't think there's any hope. It's a sad world to live without hope. My sister had a privilege. She was a dental assistant for many years. And she had a privilege of working on a gentleman who was a World War II veteran. And he had been on a march. He was a Japanese prisoner of war. And they had put them boys on a march. The Japanese had captured him, and they made them march with their M1 Garand rifles above their heads. And them M1 Garands weighed something around 12, 15 pounds. And if they dropped their rifle, they'd shoot them on the spot. They marched them for miles and miles and miles. How many think that would be hopeless? Listen, I can't hardly raise my hands above my head through a whole song, let alone carry a 15-pound rifle for miles. Come on. You with me? My sister found out he was part of that. She got talking to him one day, and he had made it through the march. He went from one end of the march to the other. How many ever miles he took him from one camp to another with his rifle above his head. His buddies dying around him because they were getting shot dead when the rifles had dropped. But this man didn't drop his rifle. And Teresa said to him, she said, rabbit, 2 seconds. My sister had an aneurysm from her first brain surgery back in 1997. She went to the doctor the other day. Her aneurysm is gone. Can we give God some glory? Come on. And she said, how did you do it? To this old man. And his son was there with him. His son was taking care of him. His son was like a Korean or Vietnam War veteran. And Teresa said the respect between them was beautiful. His son was taking care of this old man. And Teresa said, how did you do it? How did you 1 minute at a time? Did you keep your, is that how you thought? Just one more minute? He said, no. He said, 1 more second. Let that settle in for just a minute. The man didn't lose hope. He said, if I can just do it for 1 more second. Just 1 more second. Just 1 more second. Just 1 more second. Just 1 more second. See that man at the pool of Bethesda? Maybe he thought like this, Lord, if I could just inch one little place closer. Lord, if I can just wait until the angel hits one more time. Lord, if I can just get there. Lord, if I can just... Listen, you do not live in a world that's without hope. The world wants you to think there's no hope. Hallelujah. We got celebrities. Another rabbit. Sad day in the world when 2 people that were rich and famous has taken their own life. But it goes to prove something, that you can't find your satisfaction with the popularity and the riches of the world. I ain't criticizing them. I pray goodness on their soul, and I pray they got a hold of Jesus. But taking your life is not the answer to your problem, and there's no satisfaction in riches. There's no satisfaction in the world. There's only satisfaction in Jesus. Come on, somebody ought to hear it today. Glory, because Satan would like to lie to you and tell you that taking your life is the answer to your problems, but it is not. Suicide is a long-term answer to a short-term problem, because you live in a world where there is hope. If you will hold on for just 1 more second, 1 more second, 1 more second, Jesus will show up. Glory! Somebody ought to get excited. These people all over the world don't think there's no hope, but Jesus is everywhere. Hope is all over if you will simply call His name. You want to know why you didn't die in your car wrecks? Because hope was in the car with you.
Amen. Thank you, Father God.
You want to know why your addictions didn't take you under? Because hope was in the car with you.
Amen.
You want to know how you lived through bad marriages? Because hope was in the marriage with you. Somebody get a hold of it today. There is nothing in this world that will satisfy the hole in your life but Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
Come on.
Praise the Lord.
But I want to go back to that question that he asked him. Do you want to be made whole? There was a lot of times, Sister Lola, when I was playing church, y'all, if you've been around me, you know my testimony. Sometimes I'll get on it a little bit. I don't like to. Even though I do like to talk about myself, I don't like to talk about that. But that's what it is. You know, he's lying, isn't he? Come on, I prayed about that. It's called pride. You need to kill that thing out. Glory. Hallelujah. But anyways, when I was playing church, I'd get down and I'd ask for God to deliver me. I'd ask for God to set me free. I'd ask for God to take it away. There's times I'd even ask God to let me die. because I didn't want to be that no more, so I thought. But I want you to know, first time I had opportunity, I was right back off the wagon. Come on. What was the problem? He asked me the question and I gave the wrong answer. I said no. Or I give him an excuse of, God, I can't do this. It's impossible. Sometimes I didn't even get that far. Sometimes I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. Amen. But I'm going to tell you something. When God is intervening in your life and He poses that kind of question to you, the only way that the outcome of that is good is if you have the right place in your heart to get the right answer. You know, if you don't know nothing about God, He can intervene in your life. But and if you know about Him, He can and will. But once you know about God, you've got more responsibility to answer Him in the right way. Come on, amen? If I'm ignorant, God can come and He'll make a way for me like He's doing at the pool. But once I know, and He wants to know if I'm going to be... My back gave me problems for a long, long time. And I still have a little bit. I think it's as a stark reminder that I wouldn't testify about what God done for me. And I wouldn't get the prayer line, Brother Mike, because I knew I wasn't ready to be healed. He said, what? My back was so bad, Missy would have to tie my shoes. Ain't it? Wasn't it, Missy? I'd sit on the bed, I'd have to hold my boot up so Missy could tie my boot. My back was so bad. And Sister Lola, I wouldn't get the prayer line because I knew up here I wasn't ready for God to fix me. Well, let me tell you, the pain finally got bad enough, Sister Dana, that I was all too happy to get the prayer line. And I started asking God to heal me. Well, I got a call one day, and I told Him I wouldn't tell it for anything other than what it is. He told Naaman to go down and dip himself in the river 7 times, and that was about strange. Jesus spit mud in his hand and wiped it in 2 times to heal him. So I reckon He could use a horse to heal me. Come on, let me tell you. And so I got a call that this foal was stuck in this mire and I had to go pull it. And I thought, well, here I go. I'm going to rupture a disc in my back and that'll be the end of me. In the morning, I'll not be able to get out of bed. I'll be paralyzed and I'll have a permanent limp like my partner, Dr. Combs, does, because she blew a disc in her back. Here it comes. You know. So I went, took me 800 milligram ibuprofen. I got up there and I was working on that mare. She wasn't all that big. She's only about 600-800 pounds. And I was pulling her up off the ground trying to get that foal out. And I'd walk down that barn and I'd say, Lord, let's give that mare a break. And I really wasn't so much worried about the mare as I was my back. It was killing me. And I'd walk down that barn and I'd walk back up. Well, that went on about 45 minutes and I didn't notice any more back pain. I got into working real good. Finally got that foal out. And he was dead before I got there. But got the foal out and I went back to work. And I said, well, that's the end of me. In the morning I'll have a ruptured disc. Well, glory to God, I got up in the morning I didn't have no back pain. I got up next morning I didn't have no back pain. I could tie my own shoes. Glory to God. Well, I got a little paranoid. What time went on? I got a little paranoid to tell that story, Brother Mike, about how that God healed me. Right? Because that's strange. Right? I went and pulled a foal and God healed my back. Because a lot of people argue that and whatever. Well, I was laying on my back putting a sink in for somebody. And I had my feet up on the wall. My back popped. Oh, Jesus. I said, Lord, if you'll just fix it again, I'll tell everybody exactly what you've done for my back. I won't be ashamed, God, of what you've done for my back. Hallelujah. You see, the problem is with us so often, we're not ready for God to get us out of our circumstances. We're too happy feeling sorry for ourselves. We're too happy wallowing in our own self-pity and depression. We're too happy being chained up in addiction because it still feels too good to the flesh to let it go. We don't want God to deliver us. We want God, but we want our cake and eat it too. And that's not the way God works, because He said, I'm a jealous God, and you're not going to have anybody else beside me. And if there's anything else in your life that is reigning over you other than God, then it's got to go.
Amen, Lord. Praise God.
And excuses won't do. Amen?
Amen.
Well, Lord, what? Well, Lord, you what? You going to tell the Creator of the whole universe that you got a better argument than He does? I'm just saying. Who's going to win that argument? I love it in Isaiah chapter 1 when God says to Isaiah, come, let us reason together. Yeah. And I'm thinking that's one of those things like Daddy says, come on, let's talk about this. And you know you've automatically lost the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Even though what follows that is good, He said, though your sins be red like crimson, I'll wash you and make you white. Anyways, but He said, come, let's reason together. That just always upset me, Brother Scott, because it's like this, Mommy. Yes, Daddy, let's come, let us reason together. You ever done that? Like, oh, no. Thank good I didn't know I've had it. Hallelujah. And see, God is saying that to so many of us today. If I ask you right now, and you don't have to raise your hands, unless you just really feel a burden to. If I ask you right now, how many people was in need of God to fix a problem in your life, how many people would raise their hands? You know, how many people would say, I've got to have something fixed in my life? God's got to intervene, and it might be on your marriage, it might be on your family, it might be on your friends, it might be on your health, it might be on your finances. It could be anything, but God, I gotta have help in my life. But here's the question is, are you ready to let Him help you? Are you ready to let Him help you? See, that old boy didn't know what he's up against. He didn't know that Jesus was on the scene. And Jesus spoke into his life and He said, get up. Now listen, let's get back on that miracle for a minute. That boy had been laying there 38 years. He was no doubt dried up like jerky. And the Lord spoke to him and said, take up your bed and walk. And that little boy just pops up and goes. Do you realize what kind of healing happened in that 30-second conversation that he had? Not only did he have power and energy to return to his body, but his muscles formed, his nerves developed, and he hops up off the ground after not being able to. Glory to God, ain't that a miracle? And you don't think that God can move in your life that quick with your problems, then you don't serve the same God that I serve, because my God is powerful, and His limit is none, and He can do whatever needs to be done.
Amen.
Bless you, God.
What's that?
Sin no more.
Sin no more.
Less.
So that boy, that's right. So that boy gets up and he takes his bed, even though it's on Sabbath. And I'm going to tell you what, if God done something good for me, I'd probably get up and take my bed too. Be like, I did what do you want me to take? Whatever you say. So he goes to the temple, maybe to make a sacrifice or whatever, because that's what you're supposed to do under the old law. And Jesus finds him in the temple. It kind of makes it sound like Jesus found him on purpose. Isn't it funny how that God will work in your life and all of a sudden then He begins to speak into your life on purpose? You don't realize sometimes He's meddling in your circumstances, but then all of a sudden you find yourself in a spot where God can talk to you and is working on your heart, and you're like, now wait a minute, I didn't even see that coming.
Bless you, God.
So he goes up to that boy and he says, you're made whole. As if he didn't have any doubt. He said, but you're being made whole. But he said, don't go back to doing anything that you shouldn't be doing, because your ending could be worse than what you are right now or where you were. He said the worst thing could come upon you. Now, for those of us with a short-sighted idea, 38 years as an invalid is a mighty bad thing. But there is something worse than being an invalid your whole life, and that's living a life without Jesus.
Amen. Bless you, Lord.
And dying without Him. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
And he said, don't be going back. He said another place, he said they find it swept and garnished, and he said he goes and brings his buddies back, and then the ending state is 7 times worse than the person's beginning state. Me and Carol was talking about that a while back. And but he told him not to go and do wrong. I want to hit some of these points, and I want to come back to some things. I want you to look around this room. Take the time. I'm not looking at you, but look around there. I want you to look at everybody. And I want you to notice that Jesus picked one man out of that whole crowd. Don't act like you ain't looked at everybody. We don't know what everybody's wearing in the building. Don't even. You know what I'm saying? I'm uncomfortable looking at people. You look at everybody when they walk down the aisle. Don't even, Don't even. But Jesus picked that person out of that crowd. If He's talking to your heart today, why is He talking to you and not anybody else? Because He's speaking into your situation. You say, Sean, maybe He's talking to more than one person, but I guarantee you He's having a personal conversation with you about your problems today. He picked you to have a conversation with. He picked you to deliver. He picked you to set free. He picked you today to help fix your problems. Isn't it funny too? Brief rabbit. He walked through them unrecognized. There was nothing about Jesus that flaunted His appearance. He just looked like a man. But He loved like God. Come on. He looked like a man, but He loved like the Father. They didn't recognize Him, Sister Lola, when He walked through the crowd, because there was nothing. He didn't come in wearing a 3-piece suit. He didn't come in wearing a Jesus Freak t-shirt. He didn't come in with tats up both arms and a mohawk. Not that any of those things are necessarily bad. That's not my point. But he was a very common individual. If you believe what Isaiah says about him, he probably wasn't even a handsome looking dude. He just was kind of average. Maybe even not pretty. And he walks through and nobody recognizes him. But see, God meddles in our life. I use that word meddle like it's bad, but God interacts in our life. Sometimes we don't even recognize He's there. Because my God is not seeking that kind of glory all the time. My God would rather be in the background working in our life and then get the glory when the product, when the fruit is there. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Glory.
Thank you, Lord.
Talking about this man not knowing God, a lot of times if people are ignorant of the Lord, we say, well, the Lord can't do that because they ain't got no faith. I'm going to tell you something. Faith is not a requirement. He didn't know that there was Jesus to have faith in.
That's right.
Come on.
Yep.
Hallelujah. Now once he knows, it's different. Yeah. I done talked about number 9. Talked about number 8 too. Talked about number 10. Now I preached the whole thing. Let's talk about number 11. I was typing my notes last night and I typed that word invalid, which means paralytic, right? Or unable to move. I shouldn't say paralytic, but unable to move or take care of yourself. And it dawned on me, I'm not real swift on spelling, just so you know. I mean, I might have some kind of education or something. Now I can't spell my way up a brown paper sack. You know what I'm saying? I just, me and spelling don't agree. Can I get a witness over there? Missy's like shaking her head. Katrina knows I can't spell. I can't spell nothing. But I'm typing out the word in invalid last night, and it dawns on me that it's the same word as invalid. Just different vowel sound. And I typed it out, and the reason it got me is because I typed the word out without typing anything else around it, because it was like invalid. I was like, oh, it's invalid, invalid. Look at that. I'm going to tell you something. Just because that you're an invalid spiritually or physically or emotionally does not mean you're invalid to God. I want to repeat that. Just because that you're an invalid physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, does not mean you're invalid to God.
Amen.
Amen? It does not mean that you're invalid. You are extremely loved and fearfully and wonderfully made by the good Lord.
Yep.
And He's crafted you for a purpose. Satan might have derailed you. Satan might have hindered you. All those things, but it doesn't change the fact that you are fearfully, wonderfully made, and He created you for good works. Amen? Don't think for 1 minute that your sin is greater than God's work or power. Don't think for 1 minute that your history makes you invalid to do God's work.
Right.
Because it does not. You might be an invalid at this moment because of what you've done, but you're not invalid to God. Amen?
Amen.
A lot of people don't understand who Jesus is. We'll go back to 13 last. I'm about done. Short for me, it ain't. I ain't done yet. Better not get choked up. This whole thing, it showed that He is Lord of all, that He can show grace and mercy to anyone, whether they're Christians or not. Can I get an amen? He done it on the Sabbath, showing that His lordship of the holy day and of the law period that He created. That mercy and aid for the needy supersedes religion and tradition.
Yep.
Amen. I don't care if it's Sunday, you got a flat, I'm going to help you change your tire. Amen.
Right.
And it also shows us what we can do if we'll submit to Him. Now the religious people of the time, they didn't understand who Jesus was. For Him to claim to be the Son of God was one of the most blasphemic things that He could have said. Because if I said, well, I'm Bill Tussey's son, then that put me on an equal level with my daddy. And so when Jesus said, He is my Father, He put Himself on an equal level with God. And that really ticked off the rabbis and the Pharisees. Maybe not the Jewish people themselves, the commoners, but it ticked off the educated folks and the religious folks. And they didn't understand who they were dealing with. There's a lot of people in the United States today and in this world that don't know who they're dealing with. There's a lot of people in this world that truly don't know who you're dealing with. Amen? Kyle's getting ready to get our altar call ready. We're going to drop the live feed in just a few seconds, or a few minutes, but we'll ask you to stand to your feet if you're able. I'm going to tell you that this altar is open. I'm going to tell you that if you need prayer, laying on hands, then come. If you're in the altar and need prayer, we'll pray with you. If you want to pray by yourself, we'll let you pray by yourself. But I want to tell you real quick who Jesus is. But we don't understand that. I was bound in addiction. But I cried out to Him. I won't chime in time. I cried out to Him. Finally, I got to a point where I was completely broken. I squandered everything in my hands. And I said, God, I'd rather die than fail you. And I said, Lord, if you'll help me, I will never go back. And I answered the question right. Did you get it? I give the right answer to the question. And the right answer to the question, do you want to be made whole? To be made whole. I can talk. I cannot read or spell. I can talk. Right? But the proper answer to the question, do you want to be made whole? Is always, yes, Lord, at any cost. Yes, Lord. Completely, here I am. You cannot be made whole without wholly giving yourself to God. So, Sean, you're preaching on me. No, This message was done laid out 8 weeks ago. Take it up with God. Amen? I can even pull the book out when it talks about people not having hope. Amen? Come on. I ain't picking on nobody. I ain't picking on your circumstances because I know something about you. I promise I know. If the Spirit changes that way, that's all Him, but I didn't do that. But the answer to that question is always, yes, God, at whatever cost necessary. Yes, God, I will do it. And see, a lot of times we think we can do it with God's help. And that's our inkling, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's true, but what? But I'm going to tell you something. There comes a point in time when I can't do nothing. And God has to do it all. King David was not trained to be a fighter, but yet he killed a bear and a lion and a giant.
Right.
You think he done it because he was trained to be a fighter? He done it through the power of God. Amen? Samson was the strongest man that ever lived. He done all kinds of amazing feats. Did he do it through his own power? No, he done it through the power of God. The three Hebrew children in the fire did not stay unburned by their own power. Get all this. You cannot overcome the battles in your life by your own power. You cannot fix your circumstances. You got to hear me out on this now. There'll be a bunch of y'all going to cringe. Good thing I already took up offering. But you need to understand something. You can't do it even with God's help. Oh. Because that God needs control. God don't want your help doing it. God wants to do it in you. Amen. There's a song that the 116 Click done. I believe it was about lust. And at the end of it, there's a man ministering. And he says along these lines, he said, and it may not have been about lust, maybe self-control, but anyways. He said, controlling or defeating your lust is not lasting longer or holding out more or staying on the wagon a little bit more. He said, it's not that, where you do this and you do this and I held out this long. He said, giving complete control to God and letting Him have it is when you say, God, I can't do nothing. And you let Him completely take over. Yeah. Amen? So often we want to do it with God's help, but we don't want to help God. We want God to do it our way. But we don't want to do it God's way. And I'm going to tell you something. God don't need you. That last song we played during praise and worship didn't drive that home. I don't know what else. But God don't need you. But He wants you. And He loves you. And He desires you. Amen? There was a lot of hands went up in here a while ago. Is it hot in here? Or is it just conviction?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Rhonda's under conviction back there. She's like, I'm done, man.
I'll go first.
It's so hot in here. If that's the case, I'm under conviction too. But listen, God's asking you the question today. Did that man, as I drive this point home, did that man do one thing for himself? No. God done it all.
Amen.
What do you think you're going to do today? You actually to a point where you're willing to let God take over completely? Are you actually to the point where you're willing to let God take over completely? That's a big question. That's a hard question. Especially if you're a control freak. Can I get a witness? Come on. But yeah, Tony had to fight with herself.
I know. See? Oh, hands like this.
Like to put a crack in that or something. I pick on Sister Tony sometimes when it comes to controls. It is what it is. Me and Tony, we have some things in common. It comes that right there. We're control freaks. Preach, sister. It only gets worse with age. But listen, it comes down to the point God's asking this very serious question. Do you want to be made whole? Are you willing to let go and let God? Not willing to let go and let God help you. Like, all right, let's go do this. Or are you willing to let go and let God actually work in your life completely, 100%? And you say, you don't know my circumstances. It don't matter. The word's true whether I know your circumstances or not. If you want to talk about it, we can use the word to figure that out. But it's still the truth. Can I get an amen? But you've got to want it. And you say, well, Sean, that guy didn't want it. He got it, but that's because he didn't know nothing. Everybody in this building right now, at least to some degree, knows something about Jesus. Can I get an amen? Amen. Guess what? Now you have to have faith. Now you have to have faith to get you out of this. You've got to let Him have control. David, get the light. Or Blake, kill that light. I always do that to help the screen and stuff lights up. Two, I want y'all to just focus and not on what's going on around you, but I want you focusing on God. Justin, you want to drop the feed if you want to. Go ahead, Kyle. Start playing that music. Now look at that. Back where we started at this morning. Broken pieces.